Welcome back to the Armed and Dangerous podcast. This episode is all about the Dungeon Master, the storyteller, the rule keeper, the chaos conductor, and the heart behind the table. We're diving deep into how we play, why we play, and the creative process that keeps us rolling dice year after year. We're joined by Bejay, a seasoned and wildly imaginative DM that not only builds incredible worlds, but thrives on watching his players bring them to life. What makes this one special is that we started out as complete strangers, and through our shared love of D&D and DMing, we've built a real friendship along the way. So sit back, roll initiative, and let's talk about what it means to be behind the screen.
We got Bejay with us tonight, a fellow D&D player and DM that we have kind of stumbled upon, and in this community that we're trying to build and hang out with. And so, Bejay, welcome to the show, and thanks for spending time with us. Like, complete strangers. Yeah, time out of your night to come hang out with two complete strangers. But we do have this shared camaraderie of playing imagination and D&D.
Yeah, well, that's like one of the best things about D&D is you can bring total strangers together, and then all of a sudden you're friends super fast.
Exactly. I already say we are friends. Yeah. So we'll just kick off with some questions here for old Bejay. Bejay, what first drew you into tabletop role playing in the first place? What got you to be a DM or a player? What sparked that in you?
So my journey with D&D was a little bit of an interesting one, because the first time I played D&D was back in 4th edition.
Oh, okay.
Right at the tail end of 4th edition with some of my friends when I was in junior high.
Cool.
And the way that they DM'd and ran the game was so loosey-goosey. I didn't even realize there was a player handbook. They were just like, you want to do this thing that's fun and nerdy? And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. So I joined, and I just could not really get into it because it just seemed totally made up. The DM did all the roles behind the screen, even for the players. And so I just didn't understand what was happening. So I kind of was like, it's probably not for me. I like board games with structure and things like that. So it just wasn't really vibing with me at that point. But then I had been dating my now current wife for a couple of years, and she got into watching some actual plays and things like that, Dimension 20 and the like.
Of course.
And as she was doing that, she was like, I really want to do that. And my nephew was really into D&D. Him and some of his friends and family members were into D&D. So I was like, hey, could we maybe do a campaign and try it out? And we got into D&D Beyond. I actually read the player's handbook.
Nice.
How it all... Wait a minute. This actually is really cool and interesting now that I understand what it is. So we did that for a little bit.
Cool.
There ended up being some scheduling conflicts. So we only got like 2 or 3 sessions in. But I was having the time of my life.
That's awesome.
And so we did that. It didn't end up working out to do a full campaign, but I still wanted to do D&D. So I was like, you know what? Let me just DM.
I feel like
I'll read the DM guide, and I'll DM a game with just you and me. And she was like, sure. So we did that, and we did that for a couple months. And I was living with my parents at the time, and my mom was hearing our sessions like, this is super interesting. So she asked if she could join. So I slotted her into the campaign, and it was just the 3 of us up until the end of my first campaign. And then since then it's grown, and now I've got 6 players that I'm working with in my current campaign.
That's so cool. I can't imagine my mom ever playing D&D, Josh. Could you... Bejay's got a cool family if they're just like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. My mom's just like, no, not for me at all. Honey, do your thing.
What I love about that is, obviously she was just overhearing, what you guys were doing. And I just love that kind of sparked a creativity in her. Mm-hmm. And then decided to jump in. That's super cool. And I think, that's probably something very unique to D&D.
What was it like? What was it like to DM one person?
So that was interesting because I still wanted there to be kind of a party dynamic. So I did basically effectively make a DM player character.
Cool.
But he was just along for the ride. I did not want to be involved in any of the important decision making. So she was like the leader of the group effectively, and he was just following her lead.
Just help out in combat and role playing.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That's cool. That's kind of what we do in our stories too. Because I always joke that I never get to play, and I do because I have 15 billion NPCs that I keep implementing.
Right.
So we're on a pirate campaign right now, and I just keep stacking their pirate ship with more and more crew members because it's fun for me.
Nice.
Like, what are we up to? Like six NPCs, Josh?
It's a lot. Like full like Mass Effect RPG.
Yeah, that's what it feels like at this point.
It's awesome.
Yeah. We actually had a mercenary band that they were captains of in our last campaign.
Nice.
And they had their lieutenants that they helped build, that I was they were NPC lieutenants that they like helped make the backstory for and stuff that I got to play as.
That's cool.
And stuff like that. So that was a ton of fun. And then I've got a few kind of reoccurring funny characters that just so happen to share a name and tend to have similar personality traits.
Does that have just kind of a running joke?
Yeah, I think the one thing I miss of playing is just not knowing the story, and
Yes.
that's the one thing I really miss. And just being DM, you have the all-seeing eye, we see it all, we know it all. That's the one thing I really miss. So even with the NPCs, it scratches an itch, but it's never quite, what I need. BJ, to all that, do you remember the exact point, besides out of necessity, you kind of were like, I want to play, so I'm going to have to DM. Do you remember when you were just like, man, I really just want to run these sessions. This is just like a passion of mine. Do you kind of remember when that light bulb clicked for you? Like, whoa, this is like something that I'm going to keep doing in my daily life.
Well, so what ended up happening is when I decided I was going to DM, I just like went fully into it. I started building the world that you see as my background, fleshed out this entire setting, got insane lore, drew this like massive arcing storyline that would cover more than one campaign but still be connected together and all that stuff, just because like that type of creative writing was something I didn't really know I wanted to do, but when I started to do it, it was like, this is really fulfilling and really satisfying. And so that was a big thing for me, is once it was such a cool creative outlet that just was like, oh wow. So that was when I was like, no, I want to keep just going. Let's keep running with this.
So the world building is a big passion of yours. I know to be a DM that is almost like a burden you have to bear. And I'm not sure that everyone enjoys that. I'm with you on that. That is what keeps me coming back, is like adding that next layer of the lore, or a city that they may be able to explore, or the story arcs and all that. That's what drives me also to be the DM that I am. But that's cool to hear that that's what you love. Just a little plug, I guess. Tell us a little bit about the world behind you, because that's cool. And how did you make that, if someone was to want to go make something like that for their story?
Yeah. So I started just by making the setting of where the campaign was going to be, which is like the original kingdom of man, where humankind first kind of stemmed from. And there was a couple concepts with the planet, like astrologically, that I was interested in, where it's like, the moon, we never see the dark side of the moon.
Oh, okay.
That type of a situation. Well, the way this planet works is the northern part is always tilted towards the sun in its orbit.
Oh, cool.
So the southern part of the planet is always dark.
That's cool.
And so it makes it so the further north you go, the warmer it is, and then just the further south you go, the colder it is, just straight across.
Wow.
Interesting.
He went into the planet size of that.
I
we haven't done that yet.
Into the whole cosmology and everything.
He has the axis of his planet written down somewhere.
I do, and it actually is very important for the current campaign, because they are in the continent that is in the far south that I'm completely covering, that gets no sunlight, and there's like some magic involved in how there's able to be life down there.
Oh, cool.
And stuff like that, and that's a big part of the campaign and some of the mysteries surrounding that.
That's super rad. I dig that.
I was going to say, as a player, that passion bleeds into like how we play as players and the role play that we get into. Like we pick up on that passion, and I feel it from Corey when he's crafting that story. Even just you talking about like I've decided what axis this planet's going to be on. Like, that makes me super excited as a player. I'm like, I want to dive into that world and, like, experience everything that you've written for it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I think that kind of creative writing and the passion you have for it, your players notice, and it makes it way more fun when you have that kind of attention to detail.
And the lore behind it. Yeah, because I mean it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like you're actually stepping into something that's thought out. It's not just clambered together in the last minute,
Right.
BJ, how would you say your style of storytelling has changed over the years?
That's a great question. So in my first campaign, I only had 2 players. So it was very easy to be very character driven and write a lot surrounding those characters. But then my next campaign, I ended up having 5 players, and they were all from different backgrounds and things like that. Every player started on basically a different continent. And then they all were gathered together because of some event that called them to where they ended up going to. And so being able to actually do a very background-driven story was a little bit more challenging, but it made it so then I could learn ways to develop their characters. So it wasn't so reliant on their backstory and their history. It could be more dependent on developing the characters, which has been super helpful because some of my players don't really want to flesh out their backstory, and just that's not where they find a lot of fun.
Yeah.
D&D, and the whole point is having fun. So if they're not going to have fun writing this in-depth backstory, then I'm not going to make them do that. And instead, I'm going to make the most important part of their story this campaign right now.
Cool.
Right? And those will be the moments that are the important moments. And so that was a big thing that has shifted, is going from being so driven by backstory. I do a lot more stuff where the current story is what drives everything.
That's cool. And we were talking earlier, you mentioned that you have 7 people, or 6, I guess, 6 players, 7 including yourself, at your table now, kind of taking in what you just said into account, balancing that many people at a table. How is, as a DM, do you make everyone feel like they're a part of the story, but also not allow that many people to bog down the story progressing?
One thing I try to do is, like, these are just a little things.
Yeah.
They add up.
Is
I'll go around and just be like, what are you guys going to do? Start firing off their rolls, and then just let them go one by one. They got their results, respond to that, and just kind of almost do it a little bit more turn-based when we are getting into interactions that may take rolls.
Yeah.
And if people aren't involved, then, like, they're just stepping out. We don't need to worry about that. Right. But trying to give everyone opportunities to engage in that way. If everyone's rolling for something, I might then point out the player who isn't and go, are you wanting to do anything in the scenario? Are you helping any of these players with what they're doing? Just to make sure that everyone's playing their part in those interactions that we have.
It's good.
And also writing to make sure that I'm playing to every player's strength too, right? We've got 2 very charisma-based players. Well, we've got 1 very heavily intelligence-based player that doesn't have high charisma. So yeah, let's do some investigation checks and some arcana checks and history checks and things of that nature. So then they're going to be better at those and be more involved in those parts of the story typically. And then let the high charisma players do the talking more.
Yeah.
So you got to like be able to give those checks and give those stats a time to shine.
That's good. I've never actually thought about it in that point of view of taking what your characters are good at and essentially not molding the story so that it's always the case that they're good at something, but allowing the story to allow them to excel with those skill checks. Yeah, that's super cool. Even for me, that's a little insightful. Like, man, I might put that one in my back pocket.
It's fun for your character too, because now like, I'm getting to do the things that my character is good at, and that makes me feel good as a player, instead of, I'm just gonna like fade into the background while everyone else is, over here terrorizing a bard.
And it gives them purpose. Yeah, you have a high strength character and there's a boulder in the way, it's like you put that boulder there as a DM for that very purpose, it gives them a moment to shine. Yeah, I dig that. That's cool. That's a good takeaway. We were kind of chatting earlier, and you mentioned that you had some creative DMing with some nieces and nephews.
Yes.
And kind of like jumping into this question, but like finding inspiration for your stories. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I think that's super creative, and I think that that's a inspiring thing for people to hear too. And I'll kind of just let you take the floor on that one.
Well, I'll start by kind of addressing my nieces and nephews' little mini campaign that I've been running. So what was happening is my mom was telling her grandkids these crazy stories about what she did every week in D&D, and they're like, I want to do that.
Of course.
And so my little nieces and nephews, they wanted to do that, and we were at like family reunion that they were all grouped together, and I was like, you know what? I could probably write a little like one shot for them. And so I was like, all right, all you kids, find your favorite toy, and we are going to figure out a way to make that toy a D&D character. And just basically did kind of like a Toys to Life, Toy Story inspired thing, where the first big enemy they had to face was the gunny sack. I don't know if you've heard of that eats up the toys if you don't clean them. And so toys were going missing, and they had to find them and had to go defeat the gunny sack.
That's so good.
So it was just like a fun story, and it was so relatable to them because all my siblings do the gunny sack thing if they don't get their toys.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to be perfect. It plays
The
off
big
of
bad
childhood memory. Yeah, exactly. It was awesome.
That's super
so
cool.
We kind of went from there, and then I tied in like Candyland in the last one, but I also tried to tie in like lessons. So there were cavity creatures, and they had to get the sacred weapons of dental hygiene to be able to defeat the cavity creatures. They had to go get like toothbrushes, and they had to get floss and toothpaste and all this stuff to fight the cavity creatures.
Man, that's so good.
So just fun little stuff like that.
Well, we were talking, and oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, like, what's that like DMing for a table of kids? You know, every
Yeah.
D&D encounter I've had is all adults. I mean, what's that dynamic like DMing for kids?
I will say, they obviously haven't read the player's handbook. I have a player that started as young as 6 years old, so not going to be able to get them to read the player's handbook. So there's a lot less dice rolls. It's a lot more, if what they say makes sense, I'm going to be like, go for it. You know,
Yeah.
and we'll maybe do a check here or there to see how successful they are.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be so driven, and they will fail. Like they'll miss when they try to hit, you know, and things like that. Because I don't want it to just be like a nothing burger of a game for them. But I do also want to make sure that it's not so rules driven. And so if they're like, I want to do this crazy wacky thing that doesn't really make much sense by the traditional D&D rules, but it sounds great and the children love it, I'm going to be like, yeah, do it. You know, kind of the rule of cool, effectively. You're going to lean into that a little.
Let's be honest. I think that's most of us.
Yeah. We all want to really play like that.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun to DM.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
Having that kind of experience and doing that with that age group, how would you encourage maybe a brother or a father or a mother that wants to DM their children? Because say they have a passion, but you know they want to get their kids involved. How would you encourage someone to jump into something like that? Like where would they start with the kids? You know,
I don't necessarily know how to get them interested because it just happens.
I guess it's kid
naturally.
to kid. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one big thing would be something that I have had to learn, even just DMing for anybody, is like, yeah, I might have my interests and might have a story that I want to tell, but if it's of no interest to the people who are going to be playing it, then that's just, I might as well write a book, you know, if it's a story I want to tell but nobody wants to take part in.
That's good. Know your audience. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why it was like, find your favorite toy. That's what you're going to be.
And they're going to love it.
Found something that related to them.
Because that's applicable.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's cool.
So I would say start there. Don't go into this like deep fantasy that you've been building a world for and try to take whoever you can get to play it. Like they're probably not going to be interested. So find a setting and a tone that's going to be and understandable for that.
That's super cool. Yeah, Josh, have you ever thought about getting your kiddos involved?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As soon as I feel like, you know, they're old enough to dive in,
yeah,
I'd love to do that.
Because you'd probably want them to play together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, my little one's still a little too young for it, but I think when he's finally old enough, I definitely want to get both of them into it. And I'll rope the wife in. She's not she wasn't dragging me into it like yours was, but I think she'd have fun.
Especially if the kids are playing, she's
Especially the kids
and if y'all were sitting around like the coffee table playing and she's like overhearing it, she's gonna want to get involved.
Well, I think you would enjoy just
Yeah.
the family aspect of it, and just if they're having fun and like you're saying, you pick a setting, you pick things that are relatable to them and kind of bring in aspects of their world right now, and that's what makes it interesting. So.
And what a cool thing in this day and age, I feel like, in the world of the screens, where kids are so easily like sucked into an iPad or a computer, and I sound like I'm like 50 years old or whatever, but it's just the reality of the world we live in, and I mean, we're feeding that monster, recording podcasts and all that, but I hope that I keep that sanity to myself, that like at the end of the day, like D&D is such a creative expression amongst real flesh and blood human beings, that for me, that is what it sets it apart from the rest of entertainment. You're very much like still interacting, you're getting to know people on a very personal level, even if you don't feel it at first. You're learning about their characters, and I feel like I've become so close with Evan and Buddy, even though we are distanced, but we have this connection now because we're playing the shared imagination creative game. And to do that for kids, I think, is so crucial in this day and age. Like to keep that imagination wheel going in their heads.
And I'll piggyback off that and just say, as much as it's important to get kids in their imagination and get those gears turning, I think it's good for us as adults.
For sure.
Just, get outside of our boxes of routine and structure and just do something that's creative, and just kind of takes you out of your normal day-to-day reality, and do something fun and wacky for a little while, for a few hours.
That's so important.
I want to piggyback off of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because a big thing I've noticed as a DM, I have learned so many like random skills and things like that. I learned how to use like audio programs to make music, because I wanted a specific like musical theme, because there was a very important like church bell that rang that made a specific tone, and I wanted that church bell chime to be included in some of these moments.
That's cool.
So I made songs and things out of that, and I learned that skill solely so then I could get that flavor for my campaign.
That's super
and I learned how to write and solve ciphers so I could make a full-blown letter cipher for my players for one of my campaigns.
That's rad.
And like learned how to create fonts in Windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All these random skills that will probably never be applicable, but it was so fun to learn, and I never would have had any reason to learn any of those things outside of D&D.
Yeah, I feel the same as a DM. Writing was a big one for me. I always loved writing. I was an English major for like a semester in college. I realized how many books I actually had to read. I was like, no, this isn't for me. But I love reading. I love writing. And I just felt like I wasn't doing enough of it in my day-to-day life. So having that kind of brought back has got me, I'm reading just normal books again, because I'm reading in D&D and I'm writing in D&D. I'm with you on that one. And then, like learning different softwares to try to make things cool and engaging. Like, I built an entire journal in our current campaign, and Josh, your character, ended up with it, and Josh read it aloud in the session. It had like crazy fonts, and like it had a leather bound cover to it. Like, yeah, man, I
was like, where did you find this? And it's like, no, I made it.
Josh thought I pulled it off the internet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So it's stuff like that, man. I couldn't agree with you more on that. It is pushed my creativity, even to like I have no intention of ever like doing a business or anything with it, but like I've been making resin dice just for the heck of it, so learning how to work with resin, and it's moved into like I work with motorcycles and stuff. I'm making resin stuff for like motorcycles now, and I don't know, just stuff like that. It pushes you. It does. It really does. And I really dig that. I was going to ask that question, how does it compare to other forms of creative expression, but I think we just answered that one.
It ties into those other forms.
Well, we got Josh acting and voice acting now,
Yeah.
You've always wanted to do voice acting, and now you're getting to put it to use. Yeah, and you're killing it with these crazy voices you're doing.
I guess I will say that as a player, like I love bringing characters to life, and that's what has, D&D has scratched that itch for me is, in our one-shots and our normal campaign, like I get to be all these different fun characters and they can have a different voice and a different background, and seeing how that ties into the story, it's so much fun. And, it's really allowed me to, scratch that creative itch. So,
And I'm sure BJ, you'd agree with me on this, but yeah, to your point, Josh, when you finally see a character or a player click into their character, and you're just like, okay, you're really playing that character you made, and that character that I see you want to play. Yeah, it's such a beautiful moment for DM.
Yeah, I actually, one of my most memorable moments DMing was I was doing just me and my, at the time, girlfriend. We were doing that campaign, and I ended up getting her to this situation where she had to make a really difficult choice. And I turned on the music that was really somber and all this stuff. And I remember that she started to cry, not like bad tears, but just like she was really feeling the weight of that moment. And that's when I was like, that was probably the first DM moment where I went, oh my gosh. I was feeling it. I was getting chills like the whole moment.
Oh no, I would get goosebumps talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so somber and so heavy. And it was like, okay, wait, hold up. Because we had so many goofy, fun moments prior to that. There had not been anything serious like that in our campaign until that moment. And when that hit, I was like, whoa, this is really broad. Everything that it covers is humongous. And so
that's cool.
That was one of my moments. And we've had several other moments that are kind of similar to that. I had one character that was a barbarian that was trying to like channel their anger into something more healthy. And we went through this like kind of meditation therapy type session that just like really hit different.
That's cool.
So,
you're healing souls, man.
I'm here. I'm healing my own soul.
Mine too.
I'm hearing what my therapist says.
Well,
all around.
we had a session. Oh man, it's probably been 3 or 4 sessions now where I had this idea and I wanted to Flynn Harlock. He's a bard changeling and it's played by Andrew, the guy we can't stop talking about for some reason. And very first session, we were playing Lost Mines of Fendelver, and they go into the Cragmaw hideout, essentially to figure out the goblin. And I don't know if you played it or not, BJ. You probably, okay, yeah. Anyway, they go into this hideout to kind of investigate. It leads them to it, and he actually gets killed. He dies. Death saving throws. Remember, a bugbear just obliterated Flynn. I mean, he had like 9 health. I mean, you were all level 1s. Yeah, and just horrible rolls. It just was not on his side. And Mert, Josh's character, Tortle Wizard, I didn't want Flynn to die, so we had him. His dagger was embedded with this like deity, and he stabbed it through Flynn's heart, and essentially binding him with this dark deity. So going further. Yeah, it was fun. And like, so now Flynn has all these visions and like these moments with this like deity kind of whispering in his ear, trying to convince him to do things, and Flynn's scared of him. But we had a session where they pushed past that campaign to the next one. I was like, man, I haven't brought Mask, is what the deity's name is, Mask, into this campaign in a while. And the opening scene was Flynn being pulled essentially into Mask's realm for the first time. And I found this app called Fantasy Plus that has all these audio cues and stuff, and we had it in the background. And, I had this dialogue between Mask and Flynn, and Andrew was just eating it up. And the rest of the crew was just watching because it was just a conversation between Mask and Flynn.
I just had my popcorn. I was just like, this is like, I'm watching a movie right now.
And no credit to me. It was a team effort, but that was, to your point, BJ, I'm getting to it, but we had that moment of just like, man, this is cinematic. This is like, I have goosebumps. I'm like, we all, when the scene ended, there was like a silence between all of us for a second. And then we all just were like, we all breathed, it's like, it was such a good moment of D&Ding. And I think we're like, I hope DMs are hoping and attempting to paint those kind of images and story moments for all their players, because those are the moments that we walk away from the table and we're like, man, when will we have another moment like that? It was so good.
something that's so hard about that too is you cannot force it.
No.
Because
Yeah.
like you can't. We had one moment which was my first irreversible player death in a campaign.
Wow.
We had high deaths in my first campaign, but they had, at that point, they were high enough level, had Revivify, things like that, were able to bring their players back. We actually had one where I had, before the campaign started, I had watched a video where they talked about this concept of a red envelope. First person somebody dies, you trigger an event revolving around their death.
Oh, wow.
And it actually tied into the story.
That's cool.
And it was very similar to that, where a deity had basically like revived this person and had made them the first Aasimar in Moneria.
Oh, cool.
Where they were given like celestial life effectively.
Yeah.
So cool stuff like that. But then in my second campaign, in the finale, there was this moment where there were some innocent people trapped in this underwater dungeon that they were in effectively, and they needed to get out. And so the one player was like, I'm strong enough to be able to make this swim even if I wait for a second. So they pushed everyone else out, and then they failed their job to escape and ended up dying after saving everyone. And then the very, very end. And I remember that hit so different because it was the final session too. So it was like, there's no way to go.
That's an epic one.
Yeah.
That's an epic.
It was, and I didn't do anything to do that. That just was how the roles ended with the circumstances and everything. And it just ended up that way. And that was one of those moments.
They sacrificed themselves for everybody.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was just and it just happened. And that was another one of those moments. And it's like, I didn't write it or intend it to be that way. It just happened because that's how things go sometimes.
Yeah. And it can feel, because I have tried to force it. Just full confession, like I've tried to force it. I was like, man, I want to feel that moment again. I want to feel that energy again. You know, whether it be through a lengthy big bad monologue or something that I think epic is going to happen, whether the players just do something radically different than what you even thought, and it doesn't produce that. So I couldn't agree with you more. The more you push into that, the less it'll probably ever happen. And I almost, you know, I something I've been learning the past few, months in playing, is I would come in so over-prepared that it would almost stifle the creativity in it, and I've had to tone down my preparedness and allow for that random, chaotic energy from the players to really tell the story as well, you know? And my preparedness level has dropped. I have the wireframe now, and there's gaps and holes in it that allow for that creativity and those, like you said, those beautiful moments to happen naturally. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I'm glad we're not alone in that.
I've found as well that like preparedness is so hard to gauge, because I thought so after my first campaign I prepared a lot because it was just 2 players, right? And so I did need to have more prepared because we're not going to have as many ideas and as many directions we're going to be pulled in. So with the smaller group, I needed to prepare more. But then I went into my second campaign with 5 players now, more than doubling my player count. And that campaign, I like almost stopped preparing entirely because they were just saying like, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And these are our goals that I laid out for them at the very beginning. So they knew what their goal was from the get. And so they were just working towards that goal in their own way, at their own pace. And both of them had their unique moments, and they were just so different story-wise, but they were so fun. Just, they had their own merits that were just so different. And so you get different experiences. So there's not like, I don't think there's one way to prepare. I don't think it's a simple. I think you got to understand your players and understand like what they want.
Yeah.
Some players, they want to be fed a story a little bit more and be along for the ride more. But some players, that's not what they want. And so,
they want to goof off and find the taverns to cause a ruckus in. Yeah.
And so as a DM, you need to find a way to make that fun for yourself as well.
Exactly.
Because you're going to burn out if you're not enjoying the way that the campaign's going. And so setting good ground rules and communicating with your players is so important.
And I think too, as a DM, like, yeah, that is good. As a DM, our bread and butter is like just wanting to tell the story that we've put so much energy to, and wanting the lore of the world to shine out and to have these characters meet these NPCs and these quest givers and the big bad and all of this just like lore. I mean your world, having a warm part and a cold part and being able to potentially explore that in its entirety. Like, we want our players to do that, and that does come with like a serious level of preparedness on our end. But yeah, I'm with you. You also have to like look at your table and be like, well, what do I have to be willing to sacrifice from that story in order for this to really progress for both of us, And that's where I've had to edit things out because it's like it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense for where we're at,
I actually had an interesting moment that ties into that in like two sessions ago. I had a player that they were interacting with some ancient ruins and some art and things like that was kind of attached to their paladin oath. And they have some kind of conflicts right now with their paladin. And I was having them try to do some checks to try to like feed some info out to them about some of their potential plot points. And they were rolling so terribly that night. They missed every single check. Literally, it was nat 1, a 2 on the die.
My gosh. Real bad.
And yeah, and I really like when it's a moment like that, I do try to give several chances so then it doesn't feel like, man, what a miss.
Yeah.
It was like at a certain point, I gave him 3 chances, different ways to maybe try to get some different information to maybe lead him down this, and he missed them all. And it was like, it was hard for me as a DM because I'm like, this is so cool. And I really want him to engage with it. But I was like, sometimes you got to just take that.
Yeah.
Take the nat 20s and the nat 1s. And it actually ended up developing into something interesting where now he's like even more lost and confused because he didn't get any information or guidance from this thing that he was hoping he would have. And so it's like actually developing into its almost more interesting plot than what I had prepared because he missed it,
And now he has to explore other avenues in order to get back on track. Yeah. And I think that's where the railroading comes in, and you have to really gauge yourself to not do that, because I'm with you. There have been times it's like, man, if they can just get past this door or through this portal or talk correctly to this person, they'll get to the cool part. They'll get to the fun part. And then they don't do it. And you're just kind of like, this is actually turning out to be even better than something I wrote, and
100%.
Yeah. And there's a little like devil on my shoulder that wants to railroad them and be like, I'm going to fudge a die here. But sometimes I have to step back and be like, all right, Corey, take a breather. Let them. Yeah.
Hey, player to DMs. We're having fun.
We sure hope so.
We don't have to go through the door. We don't have to find the magic rune. Like, we are having fun no matter where you've got us.
What was
encouragement for the both of y'all?
Appreciate that.
Yeah. We're having a good time.
Well, I will say, when I first started, I was very much in the camp of idea of like nat 20s are more fun than nat 1s. But I really have, you guys kind of talked a little bit about this in one of your earlier episodes, where the nat 1s sometimes are way more fun and way more interesting than the nat 20s.
Yeah.
And it's not just the extremes. Sometimes the failures actually carry more weight and hit way harder than the successes.
Couldn't agree more.
We want to win, and the players want to win. And as a DM, your goal should be to have your players win. You should not be your player's enemy, right? But at the same time, you do also need to make sure that like those failures, you got to be able to turn on a dime and go like, okay, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, man. It's just that like those failure moments, because you're just like, man, I was rooting for you, buddy, but here we are, What my characters like to do is when they royally fail, they're like, well, I can't get to this door. I'm going to start a fire under the door. Like that's the logic my players use.
That's cool too. Sometimes the creative problem solving that comes from failure is great.
Yeah.
You have awesome moments for that too.
Yeah. Here's a good one, since we're kind of on this creativity kick. Have you hit any like major creative walls? And if so, you've built a whole world. You've had to have moments of frustration and like, well, what's next? What do I do here? How do you break through that? If say you're talking to a newer DM who's wanting to do what you've done, create an entire planet of lore, How do you avoid burnout, and how do you get past those creative blockages and walls that you might encounter?
One thing I do for myself is consistency is important for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I find myself like I tend to be a very disciplined person. I wake up at the same time every day. I do the same things at the same time. Like I'm very structured. But I have found that with creative things and expression like that, you kind of got to ride your waves when you have them. And so when I'm feeling inspired and I've got like a good train of thought going, I need to make sure I spend extra time in those moments and get almost ahead, right? When I can. That way, when I can't find that mental space to get me where I need to go, I'm able to lean back on the time where I was feeling inspired and had that direction and kind of just build on that. I don't like to plan tons of sessions ahead because players are going to do.
Yeah.
But come up with concepts of like, these are things we may be able to do in future sessions that will tie in depending on where they go. And then kind of drawing inspiration from that. So like basically prepping your inspiration for when you're not feeling inspired.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, the way I write, and I'm sure this isn't groundbreaking what I'm about to say, but I kind of start at the end. Like, how do I want the big bad to be like revealed? Not even necessarily die or fight or whatever, but how do I want the big bad to reveal? How do I want this moment to kind of occur? And I work my way back to the very beginning, and build that character arc that way. Yeah, because I feel like if I have the ending in mind, I can work on the in between. But it also gives me flexibility to like push that ending further back or pull it closer to me, just kind of that energy. So with this heavily modified campaign, we're doing this pirate campaign. I don't even know if it deserves the title of Ghost of Saltmarsh anymore because we're so far removed from it. I thought about renaming it. I probably will when I repackage it and like make it a little campaign thing for us if we ever wanted to do it in a different module or whatever. But neither here nor there. But yeah, I started with the big bad at the very end, and I've pieced together how they would get there, So I wanted them to do, they're in a relic hunt right now. They're trying to find relics that are tied to this. His name's the Leviathan Herald, and they're trying to find these relics that may awake something from the deep. And they just discovered one last session. So, we have several stories based off those relics because I started with the big bad. He's looking for them. They're looking for them. But I hit a wall. Again, I'm making a point. I feel like I have to get so much context with D&D because you got to tell the story, I hit a wall where I was just like, man, I've got the relics panned out. I've got all of this. But I just lost like my creative juice there for like a week in between sessions and writing. I think because I just did so much writing on the forefront that I didn't touch it for probably like a good month before we started playing. And what got me back into it actually was I got on a podcast I'd never heard before, Roll the Bones. Really good podcast. Great D&D player, so funny. And they were just being funny in the thing. And I stepped back and I was like, man, I forgot about the funny parts of D&D. I was so serious in this lore that I forgot about the funniness. So I started writing funny NPCs, and boom, I was right back into it. Just started pumping back. Started pumping back. I started creating characters on D&D Beyond and like doing the more like funny world building part of it rather than just the lore writing. So you got to mix it up. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the point I'm trying to make is mix it up. Get into the lore building, create NPCs, make a funny tavern, make a funny shop, do those kind of things. That's my point. 1 year later.
Yeah, I will say one last tip I have is play D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The most burnt out and the closest I got to just being like, I might not be doing this.
Yeah.
Is I had just bought my home. We were getting ready to get married. So lots of changes in my life. I had just gotten a big promotion at my job. Like tons of stuff in my life was changing really rapidly. And we weren't able to do D&D for like a month or two because it was just like, I need to focus on these other things. These are far more important in my life right now. And so I did those, and then trying to like that second month, I was like, man, how do I even pick back up where I was and like get this ball rolling again? And it was so crazy because my wife, my at the time fiance, right, and my mom were like, we just want to play. And so I finally
DM for us.
like, all right, let's just play. And so then we just did the next session, and I didn't come in with as much prepared, and just kind of was like, let's just basically recap. And then it was so fun that it made me go, oh yeah, this is why.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so like keeping that focus and just getting the opportunity to play D&D really helps me stay motivated. When I get to have these people here for the session and we get to actually see it go through, that inspires me far more than anything else. When I have those lulls, that's when it is a me to stay consistent and motivated.
I agree. Yeah, because when we have big gaps in between it too, I find myself being like, just full confession. Sometimes I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want to play this week. You know, it's like I've had such a long week. It's like I don't even know if I have the energy to do this. But then I get there and I'm like, oh, what was I even thinking? You know, and I'm ready for the next session. Like I'm like, let's play next weekend. You know.
Yep.
Question, because I know my answer, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, but do you still get nervous before your sessions start?
No.
No.
I never did though.
No, that's awesome. That's good. I get so nervous before my sessions start.
Interesting.
But it's just, I don't know. I think it's just like an energy anxiety thing. I'm just like, I hope we have fun tonight. I hope we have fun tonight. I still do that. But that's, I mean, good power on you for that. I respect that.
See, I've got the opposite though. I've got like really bad like anxiety. Was that fun after the thing? I have a ton of fun, but I'm like, did everyone like that session? Going in, I'm like, hey, I'm prepped. I'm ready.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Confident. But then after the fact, I'm like, oh, was that boring? That one person had terrible roles today, and I felt like to really do anything in it. I felt like they felt bad leaving. Oh no, you know.
So I used to have both.
You either get it before or after, yeah.
Well, I used to have both. I'd have anxiety before and after, but now I'm just before. I feel like the after's gone away because our crew has become so tightly knitted that like we're laughing so much. I just know the session's so solid, and not anything to me. Again, the players have built the world we're in, but yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I've been on both sides of that coin.
I will say one thing that I think helped is I started DMing with just my girlfriend. So I was very comfortable with her, right? So that I built up that confidence doing it with somebody that I felt like completely comfortable with. Like she's the person I've been the most vulnerable with out of anybody in my life. And so having that one-on-one and that ability to be vulnerable with just her, I think helped me get acclimated to that concept.
That's cool.
In that setting. So then now I can add more people and I don't feel so nervous going into it because it's like I've been there.
That's cool.
It's not that big of a deal.
And I think because I've never DM'd one person, but to DM one person would be nerve-wracking in and of itself. You know, girlfriend, friend, whoever. I feel like that to have that, like you said, almost an intimacy of that imagination moment, and to. I guess the most I've ever DM'd was just 2, or the least I've ever DM'd was 2. But yeah, I'm trying to even think how I would handle a one-person campaign. That's I mean, power to you. And I think it's encouraging for people if they are listening and they're considering the DM or they really want to play. You can do it as simple as that. You know.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, which I super dig that. Let's get into some funny questions here. Do you have any traditions that you may start the game off with your players or anything at the table? If not, that's totally cool too.
No, we do. We actually rotate dinners. Who's responsible for
Nice.
it? We do dinner and then a game. Cool. And so it's so nice because I feel like it's so common. We were running into this problem with our campaign with the 5 players where everyone would want to catch up and get see how everything was and what happened that week. And so we would be, starting an hour behind where we were around to, and I'd feel pressed for time to try to get us to a good stopping point. And so I was like, you know what, guys, we're meeting right after dinner. Let's just eat dinner together, catch up then, and then we'll do the session as soon as we're done that all out.
You combined the time. I dig that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any traditions, Josh? I'm trying to think of our sessions.
Our traditions probably revolve more around your funny NPCs that tend to crop up
Oh yeah, we've got Max and Jonathan too.
Yeah, and
That's another tradition.
I was gonna ask you that, like, what are those funny NPCs that you always throw in your campaigns because it's fun for you.
Max and Jonathan.
Max and Jonathan. Max is MAXX, and he is extreme. He is a man's man.
Extreme.
Yeah, he is Max. And he's just super gung ho, and it's like a different character and a different flavor every time, but it's the same name. So when I'm like, "Oh yeah, you meet this character named Max," they're like, "Oh, we know who that's."
We know Max. There's all like Max.
Yeah, and then Jonathan's the like very well-intentioned idiot that likes to crop up, where he is just not very smart and he is not very good at anything, but he is very well-intentioned and he'll do whatever he can to help you out, but he will not be successful more than likely.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've got some goofy characters too. Periwinkle's probably our most beloved character.
Oh yeah.
He's a halfling rogue, and he talks like this. He's "Hey guys, I'm Periwinkle." Just very, very innocent, and he really wanted to be an adventurer. And for some reason, he saw this ragtag group of players, and he was like, "Those are my adventurers." And he chased them down one day in the city streets, and they took him under his wing. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, TBD.
Yep, remains to be seen.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably one of our traditions, Corey. It's just our little like after session debrief. I think that's something you and I.
Yeah, Josh and I chat after each session just to talk about things, and even some really cool stuff has come out of that, Josh. Like we did our first like wave-based mission 2 sessions ago, where they were able to set up defenses, and essentially we're protecting this fort on this island, and we had several waves come through, and I allowed them to move I gave them like infantry people as well to move around and position, and we had a debrief after that on how, if we ever did a wave base, Josh brought up some points of like, let us have more control over the infantry, or let us move the cannons around more, kind of that energy. And it was a cool session, but yeah, those debriefs have taught me a lot. And like from a player's perspective, where I may just be blindsided or kind of nose to the book and miss out on things that I don't even think the player might see, but they do. So yeah, those are good. That's a good tradition. And I like our intro story recaps after each session.
Yeah.
I usually have one of the players read what they remember from last session, and then everyone starts filling in the gaps of the last session. So that's
can be really funny sometimes.
It is really funny because someone will be like, "I don't remember that at all," and they're like, "How do you not remember that?"
Yeah, I don't remember that guy's name.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and like Weird and Dangerous, I think, was birthed out of those little debriefs.
It was. What's the strangest thing someone's brought to your table? Whether it be a prop or an energy vibe, can you think of any bizarre moment where you're just like, "What are you doing right now?" from a player?
We definitely did have an interesting moment. So we were playing in a campaign, and I tend to I don't not allow people to do things generally unless they like make absolutely no sense, or it'll break fundamental rules or things like that. That'll just totally break how the mechanics work.
Yeah.
But generally, if they do something dumb or bad, I will give them natural consequence. So in one of the campaigns, I introduced a character just giving off real, like an NPC that was just giving off real creepy, total villain vibes.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be pretty explicit with it.
Yeah.
But he was like a figure in a position of power and authority in this area. And they just were like, "No, I'm not feeling this guy," and just jumped him. And well, it was very funny because 2 of my 5 players jumped him, and the other ones were like, "We have nothing to do with this," and just left.
Bye.
And so the 2 got thrown in prison.
Of course.
All the other players just didn't get in any trouble because they just bailed on the situation altogether.
That's awesome.
And it was just like, I remember for a short moment, they were like, "He's clearly a bad guy. on us.
Yeah, we
And
got to
I'm
do
like,
this.
That's the whole point, is you need to figure out a way to deal with him that is not going to land you in prison. And so I remember at first they were a little upset by that. And it was hard for me because I was like, what do you mean, guys? You're upset that you got thrown in prison for jumping a government official. What do you mean? I don't know what else to tell you guys. And so that was probably one of the wackiest moments that I was the most like dumbfounded by.
Like, how did we get here?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain this any differently. I don't know what's hard to understand about it. I felt like the way they were talking about it, they're like, no, it makes sense why we did it. And
That's so
it's
good.
just starting to sound right to me.
That's so good.
In that moment.
Yeah, we've definitely had some moments that have had to be de-escalated because the NPC, is more important than the player's real life. Buddy's an NPC threatener. He likes to get up in their faces, and Buddy's been in jail before, so
He has.
so has Flynn. Yeah, yeah. For those very reasons, Flynn and him like to cause a ruckus.
It's the same players too.
It's always the same players. It's always the same players.
Yeah.
But that's
So we love them.
that's the flavor. Yeah, that they throw the pepper into the mix. BJ, maybe my final question for you, for anyone that might listen to this, new DM, even maybe a player that's wanting to move their way up into a DM, what kind of advice would you give someone who maybe knows nothing about D&D? Maybe they've never even touched the player's handbook. What advice would you give them? Maybe a stepping stone, if you will, kind of a spot to start on their dungeon game master quest of becoming a great storyteller and DM. Where would you tell someone to start?
So that's a good question. I kind of had an interesting experience of becoming a DM since I hadn't played much before. I hadn't even been in a full campaign before DMing. I had only ever played maybe 5 or 6 sessions in my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I think probably the biggest thing is take that as an inspiration. I didn't know hardly anything about D&D, and in less than 2 months, I was DMing. And my players were having fun, and I was having fun.
That's awesome.
And we broke a lot of rules to start with because I read through the DM guide once. But you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
That's the point of D&D is this is not like a traditional board game. There aren't winners and losers. Everybody wins together. Everybody loses together. Like everyone's victories are shared. Everyone's losses are shared. And so keeping that context in mind makes it so then you don't need to be so afraid to DM, I think, because sometimes a lot of the time I hear people are like, well, I want to be with the players. But it's like, as a DM, I am with the players.
Yeah.
I interact with the players more than the players interact with each other,
Yeah. That's good. And I that is so invaluable in D&D for me, what you just said, because there can be a mentality, and I've read about it, those D&D horror stories or whatever, where it does become very much DM versus player versus DM. And unfortunately, the only person at fault there is the DM. The players aren't going to choose to come after you, and unless you're setting it up in such a way that you are the enemy, you become the big bad yourself. And I think it's crucial that you get the mindset of, yeah, you have a big bad. Yes, you've created him, and yes, he's in your world, and there's bad things that are going to happen to your players, but you don't cause those bad things. I think that's kind of where, the dice do and the players' decisions do, and that's where the randomness and the beauty of it happens, because the moment you start causing the destruction of your players is the moment that I don't think your players are having fun anymore, unless your players are just crazy and they just love being beat up on,
Gluttons for punishment.
Yeah, gluttons for punishment. Yeah, no.
That kind of ties into another small thing, which is like at the end of the day, we're talking about our DM style.
Yeah.
But there isn't a right or wrong way to do it. That's another thing to keep in mind, is there isn't a right way to DM or a wrong way to DM, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I've heard of tables that want a really hardcore, challenging combat type setting where they want their DM to be playing with the intention to kill them in combat. And you know what? I could probably actually really enjoy being a player on that table because I love strategic games like that. That sounds like that could be a really good time for me. But it mostly just comes down to, like, make sure that you're having fun and that people are. And so, like, don't be too afraid. Players are going to have fun. Most people don't get to play D&D enough. And so if you are DMing, even if you're not the best DM, you're not, the Matt Mercers or Brennan Lee Mulligans of the world, you're going to still be a better DM than no DM.
Yep.
That's good. Without fail. Yeah. And so give people opportunities to play D&D, and they're going to have fun, and by extension, you're going to. So don't sweat DMing. It's not as scary as it seems like it could be.
It's really not. And sometimes it just ends up you just talking to your friends. You're just talking to your friends in silly accents or, in threatening ways. Yeah.
Hey, and those DMs, they're going to need players. So get out there and play.
Yeah. 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 And if your friend asks you to play, just say yes. It's not weird. It's a good game. We promise you. All of us live normal lives outside of D&D. Sometimes I think there's a perception that people who play D&D are just glued, kind of like the World of Warcraft energy. We're just glued to it. I was like, no, we all have lives, We do things outside of D&D. We are also
the car battery before this.
Yeah, it's like we're also consumed by this role-playing game. Like it's what we absolutely love to do. Yeah.
I'm going to recruit more players if I don't work my full-time job.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to get out in the real world. I mean, I've been at the coffee shop, and I've talking to a barista that I've got to know and be like, hey man, you ever play D&D? I'm peddling it any chance I get. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I have a little D1 or a D20, but it's a 1 tattoo on my arm. And I was walking, and he stopped me. And he's like, dude, you play D&D? And I was like, yeah, man, I've been playing for years. He's like, dude, I just started. I was like, dude, keep at it. Like, keep at it. Keep your group together. Like, just push into it. He's like, yeah, man, we've been loving it. I was like, I love those moments.
It's so good.
Cool, dude. It's been a pleasure having you on here. Bejay, seriously, you've inspired me and have encouraged me to keep writing and be more creative and jump into making my worlds a lot bigger.
You had a lot of really good nuggets on just being a DM and D&D as a game.
Yeah,
we really appreciate you coming on and just talking D&D with us, man.
Yeah, dude.
Good stuff.
Been a pleasure meeting you guys. I am gonna hold you to playing a game sometime together.
No, dude. Yeah, we'll get you in on a one shot, or we'll sucker you into DMing us somehow. We'll figure it out. We'll all be at the same table. I promise you that.
That would be awesome.
Let's.
No suckering needed. I'm always.
Us too. I say suckering. I'm like, oh no, I have to play more D&D.
You want to play? Yep.
Yeah, we're in. Yeah. Let's do a funny DM lightning round real quick, and we can all answer together. But we'll just kind of go around. So, favorite snack at the table? Do you have one?
I have been loving poppies lately. The probiotic.
Oh yeah,
soda.
Those are real good. What's your favorite flavor?
I love the root beer. It kind of tastes like sarsaparilla. It's got a nice bite to it.
It is a good one.
Way to go.
I like the root beer, and I think they have a cherry limeade one too that I dig. But yeah, the root beer is a good one. It's a classic. I'll be honest, it's the worst thing to have as a DM because I'm talking so much, but I love a bag of chips right next to me. So I go on mute all the time, and I'm just.
That's correct. I do the same. I have a big bag of they're healthy, quote unquote, cheese puffs.
Yeah.
I down those things.
Yeah. I'm just over here just bag.
They're not healthy because I've eaten the entire bag.
Taffy is a big thing at our table.
Oh, cool. I love some taffy.
So.
Who is scarier, your dice or your players?
My dice are just so random. I don't have unlucky dice. I don't know. My players all talk about their unlucky dice, like the and dice shell.
Yeah.
I don't have any of those.
All your dice are created equal.
Yeah, pretty much. But I've got a few players that I always have to give a little extra attention to. So I would say that they're
keep an eye on them.
Most afraid. Yeah, they're the ones I'm.
Follow-up question on that. Do you have a favorite set of dice? Do you use physical die?
Yes, I do. I typically like to use a white and gold, a white dice and a gold dice for if they're good rolls for the players, or if they're like allies. And then I like to use like a black and this like dark red evil looking dice. I like to use those for my evil character.
That's cool.
Rolls.
I like that.
So then I can be rolling them together, and it's easy to isolate which is which.
I like that.
See, he's got it balanced. That's why he doesn't get any unlucky rolls.
Yeah. I use this little Chloe got these for me, but I probably can't. They have hearts on them. It's my favorite D20. She got them for me for Valentine's Day, but this is the one I always throw and get you guys in trouble with is the heart die. And Josh, you answered this question for me. I won't answer it. And BJ, you can tell us your answer. But if your DM style was an animal, what would it be?
I have my answer.
Okay, go for it.
I would say it's like a duck.
Okay.
Very calm and serene on the surface, but paddling furiously underneath.
That's a great answer. That's good. That's good. I'll do a little plug for our audience. If you know your DM animal style, leave a comment. Let us know. We want to hear about it. Give a good explanation like BJ did. Josh, what would my be?
Am I yours would be?
Yeah, being your DM. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I feel like yours would be your old cat Socks.
Oh, Socks.
Like you'd have Socks energy. Like you kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
You're okay with what's about to happen, but you got that cat energy too. You know, like you could be ready like what you need to be.
I have a cat named Socks, and she has all four paws are white. You know, hence the name. And she's an indoor outdoor cat, and she adopted us. I always joke she used to jump on our trash can at our old place, and her original name was Garbage because she was always on the garbage. And I swore, I was like, we're not letting this cat in. Like, you know, we rent, we can't have an animal. And then one day I walk in and there's a cat eating from a food bowl. And I'm like, well, this is our cat now. And she's moved with us and she has like all this acreage now to run around in. But like Josh said, she's she's the sweetest cat. She'll walk up to you, love on you. But there will be moments where she's just insane, running around the house, jumping into the curtains, like just crazy. Yeah, I'll take that. That's good. We do have. Once I embody a chaotic NPC, I'm just like, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're there. Like you're that's so brilliant.
I got two more. Worst monster to be stuck in an elevator with.
Oh man. You're pulling my bestiary knowledge.
I know. I'm thinking too.
Through so many of my creatures.
You should give us a crazy homebrew one you've made. That'd be fun. Something no one's heard about. If you have one off the top of your head, not to put pressure on you, you can also go with something style.
I do. I think that the one there's a big boar that they fought called a Gravelust. That would be pretty terrifying.
Scary.
It just totally dug up the earth, and it's massive. All my creatures in the current huge.
That's awesome.
Really large. They're huge or larger. All of them are.
Oh, cool. So it's like a big, like Jurassic Park kind of energy.
Yep.
I'm kind of blanking. I honestly like. Maybe it's just fresh on my mind because Josh and I started another Baldur's Gate run, but I think a Mind Flayer would be so scary to be stuck with.
Oh, true.
Just always in your head. You have nowhere to go, but it's still kind of proper, you know, and like, yeah, it just has this like forebodingness to it. Yeah. What about you, Josh? You've seen a few monster in your day.
I like that slime cube.
Oh yeah,
because if you're in the elevator with it, you're in it.
You're probably in it, disintegrating. Yeah,
probably in it. Totally.
That was actually one of my thoughts.
Yeah.
Is there one that smells particularly bad? Because I'm pretty sensitive to smell, so I was trying to think of a really stinky creature. Because like sometimes you walk into an elevator and you're like, somebody just passed gas.
Yeah, what's going on in here?
Actually, get off on an early.
Just one goblin. There's just one goblin in the elevator.
A particularly gassy goblin. That actually might be
really gassy goblin. Yeah.
If you could magically summon one famous celebrity to play in your game, who would it be? I know mine. If this will help you think, I would summon Gordon Ramsay because he would be so mean. And he would, "Are you an idiot sandwich?" to any NPC I throw at him. Yeah. I think Gordon Ramsay would be a good one. Josh, do you have a celebrity you'd want to play alongside with?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Do you know how much fun he would be?
Yeah.
To play D&D with?
Just his like sarcastic like energy and say what one more time. BJ, you got one?
I've got mine.
Okay.
I watched Sean Austin play Baldur's Gate, and his energy was just so positive and wholesome.
Yes, I
And-
know what you're talking about. I've seen this.
And I'm like, I would love to have him at the table, partially just because he's Samwise Gamgee.
Oh,
and
that would be
he's my
such a
favorite.
such a great choice. Yeah, he would be fun. Well, and some of the celebrities that I'm surprised that play that, like I watched one with Jack Black, and it was just he's made to play D&D. You know, like he played a very like, it was with that one girl from Daredevil. She was DMing. I forgot her name. Real famous DM, but she was DMing, and it had Jack Black and one of the kids from Stranger Things and several other celebrities. But Jack Black was just crushing it. He'd probably be another choice of mine too. But yeah, cool. That's a funny one. Sean Austin would be a great one. Great one. Well, dude, seriously, we really appreciate your time.